Hey guys, welcome to another lesson of Pro Teaches Tips. Here with me, Ian.
Hello.
And today we're going into What If X-Men Deadly Genesis. Right before we got started, I was telling Ian about what Deadly Genesis was. Basically, it was a story that Ed Brubaker wrote, which was finally trying to resolve the third Summers brother. You know about that long-standing story, right? Like, there was a third brother out there and everything.
I have looked at a chart of the Summers family and it made my head hurt.
Well, basically, though, it was revealed when what's his name? Caspian, the father. If when the Summers parents were taken up into space, their mother was pregnant. When she was stabbed, turns out though the baby was kept and raised and tortured by the Shi'ar until eventually somehow he escaped and came to Earth, where he was found by Xavier, who didn't realize the connection yet about at first. Oh no, he did find out through reading his mind his connection, but tried to help him. Formed a team of him and three others to try and go and rescue the X-Men before the events of Giant Size X-Men #1. They obviously failed. And then it was a secret where Cyclops went with them, but Xavier wiped his mind and decided, let's do another take with a different team. So this was the beginning of the whole Xavier had been manipulating events.
Failure.
Yeah, but yeah, this is where all that started about the whole Xavier's been lying and being almost as bad as Magneto. So yeah, there it is, the last meal. There's no getting around it. Tomorrow I have to go to the store. Fever Dream Entertainment presents a Hunt Kerman special, Fire in the Heart, the story of Vulcan, the world's greatest hero. Yay for me. For years, Magneto's Brotherhood of Mutants had been hid behind the legitimacy of an independent state, launching attacks on the USA and Europe with apparent impunity. When the United Nations finally withdrew its recognition of Genosha's sovereignty, the gloves came off in spectacular fashion. This was the scene as the X-Men finally put an end to the reign of terror. Genosha, 3 months ago, for actual footage. The team, led by Vulcan, took down Magneto and his followers in a clinically efficient operation. In the final minutes of the battle, Vulcan subdued the renegade mutant leader, long enough to deliver the coup de grace, a helmet designed by Charles Xavier to neutralize Magneto's mutant powers. You think this was a victory? You think you have won anything? As long as he wears it, Magneto's just one more Homo sapien. You're a mutant, boy, one day they'll turn on you. Wolves do not lie down with the lambs. We eat them. Today, Magneto and his gang of thugs are safe behind wire in Camp Delta. And we are privileged to have with us, live in the studio, the man who put them there, Mr. Gabriel Summer, leader of the X-Men, the world's greatest hero, Vulcan. Vulcan rocks! Gabriel, it's an honor to have you here. That was a defiant message there for Magneto. That is one seriously deluded individual. Magneto set himself up as a spokesman for mutants. He never represented mutants. You take any group of individuals, you're going to get that minority, the lunatic fringe. That's what Magneto represents, the 1% crazies. So, do you have a personal response for Magneto? I don't know if they have TV in Camp Delta, but Max, if you're watching this, fight me! Woo! Now, it's been said that without Vulcan's leadership and example, the relationship between humans and mutants might have taken a very different course. But who is the man behind the costume? We put together a short movie recreating key moments from Vulcan's career. Of course, there was no camera to record these events, so what we're seeing here are accurate reconstructions using the very latest CGI technology, meaning deep fakes and AI.
Dun dun dun.
From the first, Vulcan's life was marked by tragedy. Shortly before he was born, his parents were captured by aliens known as the Shi'ar and taken to their imperial throne world, where in an act of unbelievable brutality, his pregnant mother was murdered in front of her husband. Unknown to his father, the unborn child was kept alive to be raised as a slave by the Shi'ar. But this human child was special. As he reached adolescence, he discovered that he was a mutant, possessing the power to control energy. He used that power to make it a daring escape from its captors and took the name of the Roman god of fire, Vulcan. He knew little of Earth's culture. For a year, he hid among the homeless of New York until he was arrested and came into the care of Dr. Moira McTaggart. McTaggart was running a project to develop the power of a small group of young mutants. Her close friend, Professor Charles Xavier, mentor and creator of the original X-Men, became a huge influence on these young mutants, helping to train them and develop their power. Vulcan joined Susan Chan, also known as Sway, who's able to slow the time and replay past events. Armando Munoz, aka Darwin, the evolving boy, who is in a state of constant reactive mutation, developing new powers as he needs them to survive. And Petra, the geomorph. For the teenage Vulcan, these were the happiest times he had known, but soon tragedy was to strike once more. The drama began to unfold when an alarm was sounded by the mutant detector, Cerebro. A new mutant had appeared on the uninhabited island of Krakoa, a mutant more powerful than Professor Xavier had ever encountered. Professor Xavier dispatched the original X-Men to the island: Cyclops, Havoc, Polaris, Marvel Girl, Angel, and Iceman. Soon after landing, Professor X lost his telepathic link with Marvel Girl. The last thing he saw was his X-Men being attacked by mindless monsters. In desperation, Professor X turned to his future wife, thinking they got married here, Moira McTaggart. Her mutant proteges were young and inexperienced. Could they possibly defeat the mutant menace of Krakoa? For Gabriel, the stakes were raised when Professor Xavier confirmed that his father was Major Christopher Summers, and that two of the missing X-Men, Cyclops and Havoc, were his own brothers. Once in Krakoa, Vulcan and his team discovered that nuclear tests had triggered a mutation, which led to the island developing a primitive form of intelligence and the ability to create humanoid creatures to defend itself. At first, things went well for the youngsters. They soon found Vulcan's brother Cyclops. Like his fellow X-Men, he had lost his powers. Knowing that he'd be a liability, Cyclops agreed to leave the island, flying to safety and leaving the inexperienced new team to find the remaining X-Men. Vulcan became separated from the rest of the group. It was he who found the ancient temple where Krakoa had trapped the X-Men to feed off their mutant powers. By the time he found them, it was too late. The island had sucked the life force from them. The X-Men were dead. Distraught and angry, Vulcan attacked the core of the island's intelligence, setting up an explosive chain reaction. Realizing that they were and what was about to happen, Vulcan ran to warn his fellow mutants. Get out of here! It's gonna blow! The temple exploded. The young mutants were caught in the wave of an unidentified radiation that swept across the island. As Petra used her geomorphing powers to take them to safety, it became obvious that the bursts of radiation had boosted their power to an extraordinary level. Vulcan and Petra combined their newly enhanced abilities to launch Krakoa into space. There, deprived of water and oxygen, the living island must certainly have died. Krakoa has never been seen again, but it is out there somewhere, drifting in the endless reaches of space. How do you feel about that? The body's never recovered. I think it's kind of appropriate. They'll be preserved out there forever. We can't see them.
Hickman, worst hit.
But we can honor them in our hearts for the ultimate sacrifice they made. Now, when you return from Krakoa, Professor X would have known that the original team of X-Men had passed away. Yeah, that's right. His psychic link with Jean Grey was cut off by the island's field of energy, but he was still using Cerebro to track them, so he would have seen their genetic signatures. These signals would have just blipped out, like planes disappearing off a radar. Yeah, this must have been a terrible thing. But your brother, Cyclops, the leader of that team of X-Men, I believe it hit him even worse. Scott was devastated. He felt it was his responsibility, but not his fault. He did all he could. Absolutely. But I can understand how he felt. Losing his team, his own brother, and Jean. He and Jean were in a relationship. They were very much in love, yes? Scott never wore the costume again. Your brother has been described as a recluse. Scott has devoted himself to his art. He's a sculptor. That's how he expresses himself. I would have been honored to follow his leadership, but he chose to follow another path, and I respect that. Scott, forgive me for intruding. Not a good time, Charles. I'm sorry, but I told you, don't do this. You want to talk to me? Use the phone. You never pick up. So write me a letter. I don't want you in my head. Ever. Just won't wait, Scott. We found Krakoa. Now your mother died, as we've seen, in the tragic circumstances, and you never got to meet your father. Charles and Moira married soon after Krakoa. Would it be fair to say that the Xaviers came to represent parent figures for you? Sure, for all of us. Petra, Sway, and Darwin. We all lost our parents one way or another. We were teenagers. We were vulnerable, and we had no one to look out for us. Then Charles and Moira came along, and they've been there for us ever since. Every day, 24/7. With your powers and your boosted powers, the four of you replaced the original X-Men, and as we all know, became the greatest team of superheroes the world has known. But the Xaviers continue their work. Using Cerebro to find more mutants, they form other teams to support you. Let's take a look at those teams now. Our designers have come up with one heck of a visual here. Look at all those weird designs.
I think there's a reason that there are other designs that are more popular.
Yep. But yeah, they're just showing them all off, and then yeah, it's like basically you can so tell that while Gabriel's being humble, he loves the attention. That's all he cares about is his attention. Because why? He's a psychopath or a sociopath. Yep, but even
It's
here,
a little cheap to make the guy with no eyes.
No, that's his energy. That's his energy.
I know, but like it's a thing that makes people suspicious of people, is not being able to see eyes.
Yeah, eventually he meets up with them, and they are all ticked off at him. Scott, man, it's good to see you. What? What is it? He found Krakoa. The surfer did. That's, oh my God. So Alex, Jean, their bodies are perfectly preserved. The Silver Surfer found Krakoa drifting towards Saturn. It was remarkable that he spotted it. A few more weeks and would have been lost in the rings. The surfer brought the atom back to Earth. He left Krakoa in orbit and contacted Reed Richards. I should have been told. You were busy shooting your TV spectacular. Didn't want to mess it up for you if it was a false alarm. I should have been told. There was a time pocket preserved up there, Gabriel. I replayed it all. From the moment we arrived in Krakoa right up to the end. I saw it all. You know what you did, Gabriel. It was a mistake. A mistake? Scott, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Don't touch me. Please, I said, don't touch me. Don't do this, Scott. We're brothers. You're my big brother. I don't know what the Shi'ar did to you, but you could never be my brother. You disgust me. What? Why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you tell me? Would it have brought them back? You would have taken this away from me, being an X-Men, leading the X-Men. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to see that look in your eye. So you lied? I made amends. Every day I'm paying back for what I did. Yeah, we saw your show. We're our greatest hero. You're going to go puppet with this, aren't you? You're going to destroy me. Does anyone else know? Anyone outside this room? You came to me first, didn't you? Careful, he's going to womb. Scott! Not this time, Scott. I'm sorry. I have to do this. Truly, I am. Sway, now would be a good time. Got it. That'll hold him for a few minutes, but that's all we have. I can't use a time field in the same place twice without risking a temporal anomaly. My God, he was going to kill us. It took him less than 30 seconds to make the decision. He's already coming up with an explanation for our deaths. He's sick. He must be. Vulcan is a classic sociopath. He would do anything to preserve his self-image. And you never knew this? He was uncomfortable with my reading his mind. I respected that.
Yeah, right.
We don't have law, Professor.
Respecting people's mental privacy.
Well, just given how everything's gone right for him, I could see why he would by this point. Right, Darwin, when Sway's status field degrades, Vulcan will attempt to kill us all. Your body will react. You will instinctively evolve. That means to survive. But Vulcan will keep coming after you until one of you is dead. I don't want to kill him. Then you must override your instinct and make the conscious decision to determine your own evolution. We've discussed this. You can do it. There, in the lower hippocampus, that is where the control center for Vulcan's power is located. Do what you need to survive. What? What are you doing to me? The professor showed me the portion of your brain that regulates your mutation. It is now a cluster of dead cells. You took away my powers? No, you still have your powers, but you no longer know how to use them. You should have killed me. We don't do that. Of course not. You're a decent, honorable man, aren't you, Charles? Never a moment of weakness, never a moment of doubt. What do you think will happen when you tell them? They love me. What purpose will serve to destroy that? They'll never trust a mutant again. Everything I built for all of us will be wiped away. I want to know what else you've done, Gabriel. You're going to show me all your mistakes. No, you don't have a choice. So many. You killed all these people. And Charles, I have no pity for you, Gabriel. But you're right. It would damage us all for your crimes to become public knowledge. I'll give you a way out. You will still have the love of millions to set against my contempt. Since this documentary was first broadcast, there's been a startling development in Vulcan's story. What I have to say, he basically claims he has to go up and deal with the Shi'ar Empire. So he's going to leave probably indefinitely. And roll credits. And basically, he's been giving all these different, like, identical costumes, and one for every. And so it's like, what's it for? One for every year? Are they planning to come after me after 14 years? And then basically, every time he has air and food, he runs out of food. Once a week, the computer runs the life support system, releases food supply. But every time he goes there, he has to rewatch what happened. Everything that happened that day. So what does he find out?
In my opinion, that's cruel and unusual punishment.
But after what he did?
Justice is not doing to someone what they did to you.
Well, he's just rewatching it just so he can get food.
That's mental torture.
But yeah, basically,
and if it's not mental torture, then it's doing nothing but desensitizing him more.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, he sees what he gets there ahead of them. He sees what's happening to Jean, and he overreacts, zaps him. But because Jean was connected, she gets killed, and thus they're all like, "You murdered her. What have you done? It was an accident. You can't tell Scott." So what does he do? He kills them all to keep the secret.
Oops.
And that's what happened. Now, he even says, not one of them spoke up for me. They all wanted me to suffer, but they overlooked something. It gets easier. Every time it hurts a little less.
See, this is what I'm saying. It desensitizes them. It's going to backfire on them.
Exactly. Well, we never know where this goes then. How many times do you have to see someone die before you feel nothing at all?
Yeah, see,
How was this story overall?
It had a decent idea, but I feel like the ending is.
I think it was more for the setup, to have the aftermath and be able to come up with a clever way of explaining it. Didn't think about the ending that much after that.
Yeah, but I feel like the ending should always be the most thought through. It usually isn't, but I feel like it should be.
But what did you think, though, about the twist of what turned all this? Basically, that Gabriel is a sociopath who wanted to preserve his self-image, and thus, in a simple accident, he killed everyone to try and keep it all, make himself big.
Because
Vulcan has always
as
been
I
a
said,
sociopath.
it feels like it's playing a little too much into design stereotypes, and that kind of bothered me.
All right. But what do you think about the fact that this ended up being a case where the mutants are beloved in this world because of what had to be done?
Because they were led by a sociopath. I feel like that sends the wrong message.
Well, he's the lead, he's the face of them, but I don't think that meant he's purely like, obviously Xavier was still telling him what, helping him out there.
I don't know. I feel like it sends the wrong message to say that things go well for mutants when they're led by a sociopath.
And that though, what made Magneto become more evil after that? Because we know he's not that bad to say something like, we don't lie with the lands, we eat them.
I mean, that's pretty typical supremacist talk, which is one of the problems I have with the Krakoa era, but that's a completely different issue.
What do you see about Krakoa being utilized like for this?
Well, like I said, Jonathan Hickman on Suicide Watch, so.
But overall, interesting, but sud, right?
Yeah, not. I really think people should think through their endings first.
But the artwork was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty solid. Not like amazing. There are a couple of wonky things, but on the whole, pretty good.
Yep. All right,
as they say, cinematic.
Yep, especially though this moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
A tentacle hentai.
We did not need that.
But I get why though. It was to make it be why when he attacked it, it would kill Gene Wissett.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm not sure how else you could deal with that though.
Right. But yeah, but again, overall interesting, but a bit of a sud. So yeah, we'll be seeing you guys on the next one. Take care.